On this week's episode of An Echo of Glory, we look back at that thumping second half comeback against Aston Villa, and we look ahead to a tough game in Istanbul. Hello and welcome to another episode of your award-nominated An Echo of Glory. Joining me today, Jake Robson is back again.
Back again.
Again.
For more.
Still in the side. Congratulations. And Gary Cheeseroom Diamond.
I had a nice day yesterday.
Yeah, so we get this photo. I actually rang Gary just after the game to talk about the game in today's show, and he hangs up on me, which he does at least twice a week. And then
Doesn't get the hint.
No. Then he sends a photo to the Echo WhatsApp group of him lardy-darring it in with some cheese in one of the boxes. What happened there?
Found the cheese room, didn't I?
He found the cheese room. Haven't found the donut yet, but he's found the cheese room.
Yeah. Where was it? Which stand? Which box? Who's the owner?
Who let you in?
Who let you in?
Well,
Did they know?
I mean, did they know? They obviously didn't know.
Were you dressed appropriately?
I was not. No, after the game, we went under the south stand and we're having a few drinks down there. And then one of the guys I was with got invited up to a box and said, "Do I want to come up?" And I said, "Yeah, absolutely." So I went up and watched some of the Chelsea United game up there. Watched some of the Grand Prix. It was lovely, really nice. Some really nice red wine. The cheese was. I got fabulous.
So it is true.
It really was.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it was great. It was very, very nice, and I'm very grateful to have had the opportunity to go up there. It was a lovely way to spend post match.
Yeah.
So, does someone come and get you?
No.
Does security just allow you through, though? I mean, anyone can say they're going to a box, right? Or...
Yeah, but I think you sort of got to say the name of the box that you're going to and so on. They don't really have. There weren't so many checks or anything like that. Right. It was fairly easy to get up there. But
as in, what you're saying is they'll let anyone in.
No, I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying you need to be invited and you need to sort of be able to say which box you're going to
right.
and so on. But it was lovely. It was very nice in the East Stand, just below where I sit. Actually,
East Stand.
Yeah, it was just below where I sit. So it was interesting to see it from a level down. Fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great view, isn't it?
Unbelievable.
Fantastic.
Really, really good.
I don't care what anyone says. I wouldn't want to necessarily do it every game, but I would love to do a couple of games in some of those hospitals.
Interestingly, this is what I mean. I've been on the tour, so I knew this anyway about the box. But whereas at the old White Hart Lane, I would never have wanted to sit, and I wouldn't really want to sit in a box. It's not my sort of thing. But at the old White Hart Lane, I did watch one or two games in boxes. You have that opportunity from time to time. And they were behind that window.
Yeah.
You couldn't go out.
Yeah.
You were not a part of the match day atmosphere. These boxes, you can go out and you've got your seats outside. So you are immersed in the crowd and you are a part of it. And the whole experience is, I mean, they really haven't left any stone unturned in planning that stadium.
It's not just the boxes. I know people go on about the atmosphere. And for me, atmosphere comes from the players as much as the players have to build the atmosphere sometimes.
Well, John McGinn spoke about it yesterday. We'll get back to that because you're going to make a point.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I like to watch those fan vlogs, away fans, mainly when we've beaten them.
Yeah.
Every single, I know it should be the best because it's the newest, but it doesn't. Everton's won't be the best because it's the newest. Every single fan just goes on, what an amazing stadium we have. And I know there's an argument, I love the old place and blah, 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 but what a stadium.
Yeah, absolutely, it is. And I think, people are talking about atmosphere and so on, but you can't dismiss when John McGinn, he's not forced to say this, he said in his interview, it got noisy as I've ever heard an away ground. And I can't remember the exact wording, but effectively we didn't deal with it. We crumbled.
Makes a difference.
It does. And the atmosphere in there was good yesterday. When we started the second half.
In the cheese room?
Even before we'd equalised, we started the second half with a bit more aggression, a bit more tempo. And we'll come on to the game. But there was a lift in the atmosphere, as you say, generated from the energy of the players. It does have to come from the players. First half was a bit flat. Second half, even before the equaliser, in those opening minutes of the second half, the crowd were up. And then that goal went in, and what a brilliant goal. What a brilliant goal it was. And there was real energy in celebrating that equaliser because it was properly game on. But we'll get on to that.
Let's do just. We'll come to obviously the men in a minute. Club news. We're going to have a little bit of a match report from our very own Jake Robson in a minute. The under-21s got biffed 5-1 at Palace. Not going well for them. Under-18s didn't play.
Let's just pick up on that. Yeah, okay, it's not going well for them. But then again, we could have Mikey Moore in that team and biff every other team.
Moore, Devine, Dorrington, Phillips. They've all moved on. They're recycling that team.
Donnelly, so on. So, there's a lot of players that are missing.
100%. The women won 2-1 at home to West Ham. I'm out. Jake Robson, you were there.
Take over.
Talk to us about it.
Pass me the baton.
Yeah.
A lovely old day out. I mean, the fact that the
You
game...
were working there, yeah?
I was working. I wasn't there on a freebie. The fact that it started at 2, as the game kicked off, I'm thinking to myself, it's a bit weird that we've got the men and the women. I'm sure it's nothing to do with the clubs. They get told when to play, don't they? We know that. But just a bit. It felt a bit bizarre. But yeah, weren't that good in the first half. Turned things around in the second half. We've seen that before, haven't we? Sound familiar?
Yeah.
And I'd say that they got a bit fortunate. Well, obviously the goal that so it was 2-1 to Tottenham. The winning goal came in the 92nd minute. It was an own goal, so obviously there's always some fortune that comes with that. I think a draw would have been a fair result, but if you want to go and check out the own goal scored by the West Ham defender, it was a bit of a comedy one.
We'll take it.
When any defender lobs their own keeper.
So a couple of questions. I mean, I don't know how much you saw of the women last season, but last season there seemed to be real progress in the way that they were playing, the style they were playing. Was it just a bit more of a grind yesterday?
It was a bit more of a grind. I sort of feel like they should be higher than 7th.
Right.
I think the manager is really good, Robert Wilhelman. You know, you look at the league table. Okay, Johnny always likes to say, what does Johnny say? Or am I selling?
It's a league of two halves.
Yeah.
And it always will, but not always. It will be for a while until other clubs invest.
But who do you class as the top half? Because Brighton are 3rd at the moment.
Well, they've invested. Arsenal, really, it's Arsenal, City, Chelsea, Man United.
Yeah, and then we're trying to break it. Liverpool.
And so Liverpool is 6th, Brighton are 3rd. I sort of feel like we should be the best of the rest.
That's kind of where we are.
There's a clump of teams: Spurs, Liverpool, Brighton. Now,
I think there's a lot to be positive. I don't know the exact money that's been spent in it, but you watch some of the women's teams and you kind of get the feeling that Tottenham, as a club, are invested. I don't know necessarily as financially as strongly, but certainly their efforts are behind it.
Yeah, it's getting
when you see the women's team, just the amount of staff they've got and the all the press guys turn up in their blazers. You know, they're really, it's like it's part of the club, you know, properly. Whereas you don't always get that feeling with some of the other teams.
This is why I think is, you know, to the point that you made about it being weird, that you're doing a job, you've got to report on the women's game, but at the same time you're invested in the men's team and you're keeping an eye very much on what's going there. It's such a shame when you're trying to grow the women's game that the schedulers, the organisers aren't thinking to themselves, we shouldn't have a women's team playing at the same time as the men's team.
Yeah,
it just shouldn't happen.
There was no reason for me, really, why that game couldn't have maybe kicked off at 7 o'clock last night.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thinking that though, or maybe midday, or is that too early on a Sunday? I don't know. 7 feels a bit.
But whatever the timing is, the principle is they're trying to grow the women's game, and what they've done there is, I mean, I don't know what the crowd. I was going to ask you, what was the crowd like there? Because how many Spurs fans take a look at the women kicking off at 2 o'clock at home? Because they were at home, so this was a home game for them. The crowd can't have been; it must have been non-existent. What was the crowd like?
So the stand that the camera is in was more or less full, 80% full.
Really?
Yeah,
but when I said no, you're not going to get a Spurs season ticket holder who would maybe go to a women's game. He's not going.
But the rest of the
but Spurs are on TV. I mean, I'm thinking to myself, you know.
Well, listen, fair play. That's great to hear.
Yeah, but the rest of the ground was it. So it wasn't. I mean, what are we talking? Maybe 3, 4. Yeah. I sort of feel like that they could do better. Maybe, you know, Friday nights, maybe Saturday nights. I don't know what the appetite for Sunday night football is.
Yeah, look, they were on the back of an international break, so they had to play Sunday really. Yeah. But there are games in the evening. Chelsea played Everton last night again for telly. But anyway, good to see the women win. They needed a win, and they've done it. A couple of other bits: a hat trick for Valise in midweek, albeit in a cup game against lower Spanish opposition, but you've still got to score them. Dane Scarlett scores again. Someone made a good point on Twitter, and I was guilty of this too. Some people had sort of written Scarlett off, but you don't play for England under 21s if you're not. I think you've maybe said that yourself, Jake, that, you know, you've obviously got something, and he looks bigger and stronger, and he's getting minutes, and that's so important. And he's got 3 in his last 4. And something I missed out last Thursday when we recorded, Ash Phillips scored for Stoke in the week. So Spurs players on loan doing all right. But let's come really to the main event. Talking about the cheese room again. No. The men's team. Now, I'll go through the lineup. it's been listed by Match of the Day last night, and they get their info off Opta. So off Opta, it listed as a 4-3-3. I'm not utterly convinced by that, but it was Vicario in goal, Porro, Romero, Dragusin, Udogi, Kulusevski, Bentancur, and Sarr, Johnson, Solanke, and Son. For me, that in terms of personnel, it's a 4-2-3-1. It's not the the new 4-3-3 that we've been seeing. It's a little bit more pragmatic, I think. Maybe it's a 4-2-3 out of possession.
If you're going to be pedantic, though, what we've been seeing is probably a 4-1, 4-1-2, 4-1-4-1.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it can be 4-3-3, whatever way you want to look at it.
I think the first thing to say is I don't think many people would have had complaints about the starting lineup.
No,
there was the question about James Maddison. Potentially, there's the question about Basuma or Sarr.
For me, Sarr was in. I love Bentancur. I will say that every single
show.
No,
those were the only
for
two
me,
questions.
It was Basuma or Bentancur.
But I think nobody can really have too many questions about the starting lineup. In terms of the formation, you can talk about formations as much as you like. It's actually you showed me something interesting about Sarr positionally this season. Has been, if you look at Sarr's heat maps this season, he hasn't been as advanced as he was last season. He's very much sort of patrolling from the edge of our box to midway inside the opposition half, whereas last season he was tasked with trying to get forwards more, and you can see that on the heat map from last season. You could see that he was getting forward in that left channel in particular.
His right channel.
Okay, but quite a bit more than he is this season. And I think that's where the question about formation or pragmatism or solidity when Sarr is in the team comes from, because, with him playing, I spoke about the fact I think Sarr's a 6, whether he's a 6, whether he's an 8, whatever it is, I feel as though he is a deeper lying player. And actually, he was fabulous yesterday. He in the second half was absolutely exceptional.
I think he comes alive, guys, when the game opens up a bit.
Yeah, and when they are in transition, when they are trying to bring the game onto you a little bit more, I think he did it against, I think it was West Ham, did it against Villarreal. We scored a couple of goals with him breaking up play and setting us on our way, just by being deeper lying, reading the game, having that bit more time on the ball to ping it about. He played 1 or 2 brilliant passes yesterday. But first half, I think Bentancur kind of kept us in it. Not that I think Villa were brilliant or did much, but Bentancur was sort of trying to drive us on in the first half. Second half, Sarr was the absolute bedrock and foundation of the team. And you look at his positioning, and it is a much deeper lying, disciplined role than what he had last season. And I think we are reaping the dividends, as is he. It's a much more natural position for him.
I saw someone on Twitter say, Maddison's been dropped. And I just thought, it's a squad game.
Yep.
And we saw what happened in the end. He came on, he scored, didn't he? But I think players doesn't, just because he's not picked, doesn't mean that he's been put in the bin.
We've seen far too long in this team, and we can jump a little bit ahead to Son coming off. We've seen a certain player anyway just be picked every single week, and sometimes, he probably should have been, but that wasn't a dropping of Maddison. And so what? And so what if it was players coming in and out of form?
And also, sometimes players need to be dropped.
Yeah,
it doesn't mean. And actually, often them being dropped gives them a kick up the backside, and they do something about it, rather than that's it. You'll never see him again.
It's good to see a manager with the Son thing. It's like, well, I'm not afraid to make these decisions.
In years gone by, Eriksen, Ali, we couldn't drop them because there was no one else to come into play.
Correct. Yeah.
So
correct. And we speak about Maddison, and the other factor to it is, we know that he can't sustain the physical level for a whole season. So actually managing his minutes means that you're getting the maximum out of the squad, rather than waiting for one of Maddison or Kulusevski to get injured and then being forced into that change. We're playing in different ways with the same philosophy. So this is where the question about formation or who plays what, it's the same. It's the philosophy that doesn't change. And that's what we really saw in the second half yesterday, I think.
And the other thing is, I know people have their opinions on him, most of which I don't agree about his personality. What I will
about
say,
Maddison.
what I will say is that people, probably non-Tottenham fans, I think he's a really, as well as being fantastically gifted and a very good footballer, I think he's a really top professional, and he's not the kind of player that's going to throw his toys out the pram, as we saw. But when you see him named on the bench, it doesn't strike me as he's done it. He's had a strop, whatever. He's going to take it in his stride, and when he's called upon, he's going to do his best to do the best job that he can.
100%.
Let's talk about that first half. I mean, we all know the end result. But we've had a few first halves like this. Match of the day did a great stat on first half v second half Spurs this season. I think that was also down to Villa, who came. It felt very much like the Arsenal game.
It did. It really did.
They'll come try and get a set piece, and they got a set piece.
I was surprised at Villa because
that's what. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I was less surprised with Arsenal because we've seen Arsenal do it in some of the big games.
That's kind of been Arsenal this season, and indeed
well,
last season.
Well, they did it against City a couple of times.
Yeah.
I just thought that Villa, they didn't pick any different a team as the one I thought they'd pick. I thought they'd come at us a bit more. Maybe that was the plan in the second half, and they weren't able to do it.
I don't think it was the plan.
No,
I mean, the way they played, they just wanted to disrupt the game. They wanted to disrupt the flow. They wanted to slow it down, take as much time out of the game as possible, disrupt the momentum, not let Tottenham get into a groove. They were clearly angling for set pieces and looking to catch us on the break. It was a little bit like what, as you say, you'd expect it from Arsenal. It was a little bit like what West Ham were trying to do. It was disappointing from a team that I think believes that they are going places, and they are. They're doing very well, right? And I was disappointed with their approach to the game. I thought it was poor, really, from Villa, and they really did. That first half was not a spectacle for anybody. I'm not saying that it's incumbent on a team to come and make a game a spectacle. Their job is to come and get 3 points. But
but the team that they've been,
they're better than that.
More.
They are. And I've watched a couple of Villa fan vlogs, and Luke, who was on the show last week, they were disappointed with the performance.
They should be,
and not just the performance, but the way they were set up.
Yeah.
But I wonder what they would have been saying at half time
for that Tielemans shot. But did it go for? It went for a corner, and then you had that header from Onana.
Yeah, but that was all in the moment. That was all around the goal.
That took them half an hour of the game before that happened.
So, but there's a few things. One, it's all very well and good, Villa fans looking back on it, having got thumped 4-1 and being disappointed with the performance. I do wonder what they would have been saying at half time. I'm sure they would have been delighted with the performance. True. And had they managed to keep that up and keep us at bay, they've come and done a very professional job. And you'd say that is a really mature team that's growing and knows how to grind out a result at a tough away game. Fair enough. I suspect their views at full time were very different to what they would have been at half time. So I wouldn't take what they said at full time to be entirely, gospel.
What you're saying is you haven't gone back and watched any of the Villa watch-alongs.
No, I haven't. But let's talk about Tottenham in the first half, because this is something that we have come up against. We've seen it increasingly. Arsenal, West Ham, Villa. I think one of the few teams that didn't do it was Brentford. They actually came out and played and got absolutely thumped.
In the end.
But I mean, it was a thumping. It was 3-1, but it could have been significantly more. So let's talk about Spurs and how we overcome it, because you picked up on the stat on Match of the Day, which was eye-opening. And it was eye-opening to me for a few reasons. A lot of criticism comes towards Ange. This guy doesn't know English football. This guy can't make changes. You look at our second half stats, and this is a guy who very clearly has a very strong perception of what is happening in the game and how to fix it. And we've seen it with Sarr coming on against West Ham. And Match of the Day picks up on another thing yesterday where in the first half, Udogie was making the underlap. And they were very clearly well drilled for that and covering that off.
Son would go wide and Udogie would go inside.
Correct, yeah. And then in the second half, Ange obviously has said to him, actually, go down the other side. And that created for Son the half yard of space for him to whip in that. Beckham would have put his name to that ball. Yeah, Beckham absolutely would have put his name to that ball. It was sensational. Yeah. But it's those tactical changes. And when you see that graphic that Match of the Day showed of how dominant we are in the second half, that is a manager that is looking at it, getting his players in the changing room and saying, this is what's happening. This is how we fix it. Now go and execute on that. Doesn't always happen. Brighton, Palace,
things still need to be worked on away from home.
But you cannot, in my view, I made this game after this point after the West Ham game, to people that are criticising Ange, saying, he hasn't managed at this level. He knows the game of football intimately, very, very well. And I will not hear that this is a guy that can't manage at this level, because I think he absolutely can. I am a bit concerned about first half performances, in the sense that obviously we're going a goal down a lot.
We're not going to, thankfully. Watkins had that chance.
There's a half chance.
Yeah, okay. Well, I think he would probably have it more than that.
On his left foot. Then.
Yeah, fine. He's an international forward who apparently is better than Harry Kane. But we're lucky we're not going 2 down, because that's an issue.
Yeah, if we go 2 down, that would be an issue. It is a concern that we're going 1 down and whatever. But often, football matches in the first 20 minutes, half an hour is about feeling out the other team and just, you're not going to start really putting your foot to the floor from minute one. I don't know. It's a weird thing.
But he's talked about how fit we are, and I think that comes across with second half performances.
Yeah.
Again, certainly at home when the crowd are behind you makes a big difference. I still just think we haven't had an away game since we last talked about it, but just got to sort stuff since the last one. But we've got to just talk. We've got to work on away performances.
I still think the goal we conceded. When you're watching it, you can see Rodgers is stood in front of Vicario, and I don't necessarily put any blame at Vicario, but
they've got to protect him better.
I don't understand. He was definitely unmarked, Rodgers.
Yeah. Well, we're zonal, aren't we?
No, if you look at that corner, every Tottenham player was with a Villa man, apart from Rodgers.
Well, Vicario was with him.
Yeah, but that just surely does. And is that the plan? But is that the plan?
Well,
that's the bit I don't understand, because it seems to me like not only is Rodgers using his physicality to put Vicario off, it also means that Vicario, he's also then free when Vicario tries to get at the ball. Rodgers is free. We saw what happened. The flick came in, and Rodgers is there at the back, in the middle of the goal, completely unmarked. Well, if you've got someone on Rodgers, both shielding Vicario and marking Rodgers at the same time, then surely that goal isn't even scored.
Again, I always say this almost every week now. Again, I've played the base level of football. I sometimes play in goal. If I've got someone standing in front of me, a centre forward or an opposing player, I want one of mine to come and stand in front of him.
Yeah.
But I don't know why we're not doing that.
But there was a few things to pick up in the build-up to the goal. One was the whole sequence came about, and I don't blame Vicario for the goal itself, but the whole sequence came about because Vicario punched a very catchable cross.
100%.
And although the punch, in terms of the punch itself, was okay.
It kept it alive for Villa.
It kept it alive. They whipped it back in. Anana gets the header, which hits the post and goes away for the corner. That's how the corner came about.
Yeah.
If Vicario catches that cross,
doesn't happen.
That whole sequence doesn't happen. So
Butterfly effect. We might not win 4-1. So.
But fine, okay, yeah, fine. But
Gary might end up in the cheese room.
Right,
correct. All of these things, like butterfly effect. If Vicario catches that, maybe Villa win. Fine. But the reality is, Vicario's got to do the basics, okay? And that was a catchable cross. He should have caught that. And that whole goal came about because he put us under pressure. He wasn't directly responsible for the goal when it went in. That was a culmination of a few things. There was a lot of argy-bargy in the box. The ref went and stopped the game a few times, or didn't allow the corner to be taken. A couple of times there's pushing and shoving and this and that. And that was very clearly, Villa had worked on that and were looking for that.
Well, you get that Austin McPhee standing in the touchline.
Yeah.
Telling him,
what's going on. So they very clearly worked on it. And then I was confused as well by Porro at the near post, because if you've got a 6-foot player there, that gets cleared. Why is Porro at the near post? You saw Harry Kane always used to do it. He was at the near post.
Well, Arsenal scored the exact same goal last season. It was Højbjerg who flicked it on.
Exactly that. But, if I think about Eriksen, and people would say he never beats the first man, what they're trying to do is, if you can beat the first man and get that flick, you've got carnage and you're probably getting a goal somewhere. And that's why so often he didn't beat the first man, because you're trying to
100%. He's trying to get the Alderweireld to flick it.
You're trying to hit your first man, right? Yeah. That's why you've got to have a big bloke there. And Harry Kane did it really effectively for us.
Stick Solanke there.
But that's why I couldn't work out the marking. I haven't watched it back too much. I think I watched it once on the train home, and match of the day. But I haven't really analysed where Solanke was, where our big players were. Where, obviously Dragushin and Romero have to be in the middle marking their strikers. But normally you'd get your big front man, your big number 9 on that front post. Don't mark anybody. Just make them beat you.
Just head it away. Yeah. All right. We got to half time. We talked about the atmosphere. The atmosphere at the start of the half is always quiet because people are coming back and nothing's really happening. I felt the atmosphere didn't go up a notch until, was it Craig Pawson, the ref? Rodgers went down after being whacked by Bentancur, and Bentancur got up and Rodgers stayed down. Wasn't a head injury. The game was going 10, 15, 20 seconds. We're not kicking the ball out because it's not a head injury. Someone, I think Porro, plays a lovely ball over the top. Solanke, he's not in on goal, but he's one-on-one with, I think, Carlos. Yeah. For the first time, we've got a moment, and the referee blows the whistle.
Was that at 1-0, was it?
Yeah, it was just after half-time. Yeah. And that got our goats up, that got the players' goats up, and actually, that was the first time the crowd lifted, and within 3 minutes, it was 1-1, not because of that, but at that moment, we just got something to get angry and get our teeth into. Then Son hits this cross, back post Johnson is here again, really good finish. But after that, I don't think any football was played for 10 minutes. Villa kept stopping the game.
Yep.
He made the Son sub,
Yep.
which I won't lie, at one point I was like, I think I preferred the Mora Bergwijn sub from Nuno. I get it. Ange was like, he was only ever going to play 55 minutes, but no one seemingly had told Son.
Well, Son didn't know, did he?
Yeah. It worked in the end, but he just got us into the game, and I thought maybe he could give him another 10, but they're managing him, don't take him to Turkey, fine. But the game died for about 10 minutes, and I think a lot of us were thinking, we were in the ascendancy
But
here,
the
and
ref
it's gone
allowed it.
flat.
The ref allowed every single one of their tricks. Did nothing stop. The best one was Martinez had a goal kick, right? And I can't remember at what stage it was. The second half, he had a goal kick. And the crowd are going mad because it's taking so much time. And the ref goes, "It's all right, lads. It's all right. The 17,000 in that wall behind the goal. I've got this." And we think, finally, he's going to go over and tell Martinez. He might even wave a yellow card for time wasting. He went, "You need to roll the ball back an inch. It's not on the line."
Yeah.
No, it's the time. We don't care where the ball is. It's the time wasting.
Yeah.
It was incredible.
Martinez is the king of that, isn't he?
Yeah, but Pawson was so out of control with the game from the very first minute. I mean, Udogie got away with a very clear booking in the first 3 minutes. And once he let that go,
I don't remember that.
Yeah, Udogie should have been booked in the first 3 minutes. It was a late lunge.
No one likes an early booking, though.
No, but the point was once he let that go, you know, it really was a bitty game, and I think refs have to be more aware of it. You know, we encourage football. The whole back pass rule was brought in to encourage football, and a lot of, you know, offsides, you know, trying to give the advantage to the attacker in the pass is to try and encourage goals, and then you get refs just going, yeah, I'll let this team just kill a game dead for no particular reason. Refs need to be more aware of it.
I just went off when you mentioned the back pass rule there. Amazing how many people who listen to us, my son, have no idea that goalies used to be able to pick the ball up.
I know, I was thinking that as well. Should we move on?
Why do you not remember it because you're so?
No, I don't.
Do you not?
No.
Denmark literally won a European tournament because of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is like stories of my dad.
Do you remember Paul Gerrard, the Oldham goalie, in the first season, who couldn't kick the ball and he kicked it straight to Sheringham twice? It's hilarious. It's on YouTube. That Spurs
I
Oldham.
don't know what he means. He means first season of the Premier League.
When football was invented.
All
right, so...
But the bringing Son off, though, for Richarlison.
Yeah.
And was it Bentancur as well for Bissouma?
That was later.
Was it later?
Yeah.
But the Son swap,
No, it was a double sub.
I think it was a double
was it?
sub. That just turns out to be genius, doesn't it?
Bentancur, I was watching him because obviously I'm obsessed with the guy. He got injured in that tackle.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Bentancur, yeah. But, I'm
But
talking
bringing
about the Son-
Bissouma on for half an hour is such a great sub. Like,
Yeah.
even if Bentancur wasn't injured,
Yeah.
you're like, yeah, great, fine, thank you.
Yeah.
Let's talk about, quickly on Romero, Wally. I think that was at 1-1. No, that might have been at 2-1. That was at 2-1. So let's do the 2-1 first. Props to, no, it would have been because Romero had gone off.
I think he'd gone off
He
already.
got off because Ben Davies
Yeah.
won the ball. Romero,
Yeah.
stupid tackle, only got himself to blame. Sorry, just don't do that. Nah,
I haven't seen it back, but at
wild.
the time,
It's wild.
It was one of those where I think he felt he either had to win the ball or take the guy out because otherwise they.
Well, Porro was
they
there.
were-
It actually should have been Porro's ball, but I think Romero.
But I also feel as though it
wanted it.
came at a moment when, as you say, the game had died for 10 minutes because Villa killed it and it was a bit flat. And actually, sometimes you just need a bit of to get things going again. I didn't mind the challenge. It was a bit silly, more so because he got himself injured as well. But I didn't mind
Ange
the
didn't
idea
seem
behind it.
Ange didn't seem that worried about it. He
he
said,
couldn't get his boot on, which
he
is
said
a
he's,
bit of a worry.
he's a tough guy, so he must have been sore for him to have gone off. But
I'm sure he'll be fine for Argentina in a couple of weeks.
he's
Alright,
not
so
going to play on Thursday.
we'll
so-
come to Thursday in a second.
Yeah.
I would take us three. I'll take my boots. 2-1. Great tackle from Ben Davies on the halfway line. And Solanke, I think you pointed, was it you pointed this out or someone pointed this out? Maybe Jake Sanders. Solanke was almost on our halfway line when we turned the ball over. And he doesn't just amble forward, gets himself into a position. Lovely ball by Kulu. And then, Solanke, he'll be aware of that stat that he hasn't had a shot on target for 6 games. He'll be aware. And that's his moment. If I miss this, it's potentially another game where I haven't scored, and the pressure will be building on him. But the natural ability and the calmness. We see Werner, who is so not calm in front of goal. And you see this guy just dink the ball. One of the hardest skills for a centre forward, that.
I thought that is the finish of a £60 million striker.
So,
People
yeah.
said the fee, that's what you get when you pay money like that for someone like
Plenty of strikers try and lash that bottom corner, and they may score, but that was beautiful.
So I'll come to Solanke in a minute, but I do want to comment on Ben Davies, because he obviously came on at 1-1, and a lot of Spurs fans are like, oh my God, so now we've got Davies and Dragushin at centre-back. Last season it was Davies and Emerson Royale against them, against Villa. So Villa always seem to get that bit of luck.
Yeah.
Ben Davies has to be one of the most unsung heroes.
Yeah.
He's not a brilliant footballer. Let's be clear. He's not a match winner. He's not a, but he is so reliable, so dependable, will always put his body on the line. And that was a big tackle. That was a big tackle that he experience has shown him. I don't need to go through the guy. I don't need to sort of go in with force. I just need to get my body in the right place, and I'm going to win the ball. And then it bounces to us, and from there we're away. But I just wanted to say a bit of Ben Davies, Daddy Davies appreciation, because
Benny D.
And a lot of people go, "You're the problem. You stick by Ben Davies. You need players like Ben Davies in a squad."
Are you talking to a certain pair who was sat in these two chairs on Thursday? Because
no, I'm not
the
talking.
Suggestion was that his contract
let him go in January.
Off. I mean,
yeah,
we had this with Højbjerg last season, and I banged the drum. I'm not saying he should necessarily still be here, but sometimes you have players in your squad that may not be the most naturally gifted, but what they are good at, they are very good at.
I think
Højbjerg was that, and he used to get a lot of stick. And Ange brought him on in that game at home against Forest, and he had a couple of games where he was really, really good. And Davies was the same yesterday.
But Højbjerg's a different case. Højbjerg's a different case. Højbjerg would want more from himself.
Yeah.
He sees himself as a starter, and he is good enough, I think, to be a starter in another team somewhere else.
Yeah.
He wasn't good enough to be a starter for us.
But Davies
and that
be
was
a
the
starter
problem.
in another team somewhere else.
But Davies is also at the latter end of his career. He's not going to go to a bigger club than Tottenham. Yeah. He's got a great position in the squad.
Never going to moan about it.
He's never going to moan about it. He's the ultimate professional. He's apparently brilliant for the kids and the youngsters. I'm not saying that he should be here next season. I'm not saying that. But I am saying, that you need your Ben Davies in the squad. You look at United under Alex Ferguson, you had your Wes Browns and whoever else, right? There is nothing wrong with Ben Davies at all being in the squad and coming on when needed. He won't ever let you down. Maybe in terms of ability or speed sometimes, but that's not his fault. He won't let you down for, attitude, desire, will to win, and so on. And that was a big tackle that put us on our way.
The only positive on Romero and Van der Ven being out is that Dragushin gets to play right side and Davies is naturally left-sided.
But just to move on from, and that is a positive, I'm sure we'll see that on Thursday night. The finish from Solanke, the ball from Kulusevski, by the way, was world-class. That is absolutely world-class. Vision and reverse pass was just
one of his quieter games, by the way, but to still pop up and do that.
Good. I thought he was good.
But over the last
it's not criticism, it's
he's
slightly quiet. 100%. But he's still coming out with those, as the Americans say, clutch moments.
And I've got another point about Kulusevski actually shortly, but that was a brilliant ball. Solanke not having shots on goal prior to yesterday was not a concern of mine.
No, he's been brilliant.
Insofar as Solanke, it was more a concern of mine insofar as the team need to be doing more for him. The team need to be creating those opportunities, and they weren't doing that. Yeah. But I never had a doubt that you put Solanke in those positions, he'll finish them, and that finish really was a great finish, as you guys have said.
Yeah.
And both goals within less
3
than
minutes.
10... Sorry?
3 minutes?
But I was going to say, within 10 seconds of winning the ball back with both goals, the ball is in the back of the net.
Yeah.
And that is a hallmark of what we've been like under Ange.
When we're relentless, we're relentless.
But not only winning the ball. Okay, actually, both of these, we didn't win the ball that high up the pitch. Both of these were won...
around the halfway line.
Yeah, around the halfway line. And within 6-7 seconds, the ball's in the back of the net. I mean, and this is against Villa, who are, defensively at least meant to be... Well, they're just not defensively, they're just a good side, aren't they?
This is it. It's the intensity of the passing. It's the aggression of the play. And when you play with that pace and that intensity, it's so hard for most teams to live it. That's why Palace was so frustrating. We just didn't do it at any point. But it's the point that we've made quite often. Like, we only really need in any game a 10-15 minute spell of playing high intensity, high pressure football, and most teams can't deal with it. And that's exactly what happened to Villa yesterday. We just killed them off in that 15-minute period at the beginning of the first half because the intensity went up, everything went up, the crowd went up. And they just couldn't deal with it.
And I tell you who's part of that when he comes on, with half an hour to go is Richarlison down the left. The assist, if you see on the replay, he is busting his balls to get
that's why his hammy
on
went.
the end. That's why it's
Such a shame.
But it was as you said, the intensity, the aggression to want to receive, to be on the end of that ball that he really put a shift.
He was again. I wasn't a fan of the Son sub, but he did well. He's back up for it. Doggy is certainly better than Son's is because bless Son.
He did brilliantly the other night against City as well. I thought he came on and did a really good job.
And the shame of it is for him that he's made of biscuits and he's injured again. But the shame of it is, when I was watching Solanke after Richarlison had gone off, run again and chase Martinez, and I was thinking, who's going to play out front? I don't know if Lancashire's around. I think he is, but maybe Werner might have to play out front because Solanke, you have to manage his minutes. And if Richarlison's going to be out for 3, 4, 5 weeks, Solanke's going to play for England.
Just a note on, we'll come back to that, but a note on Richarlison. Not only was it such a great run where he really showed great desire to get there, it would have been very easy for him to try and go low and hard across the 6-yard box, where I actually think Johnson might have been offside if he had gone that route, if it had even got to Johnson. But to pick out Solanke is such an underrated pass. It looks like it's an easy pass. It's not. It was such a good ball from Richarlison. And it's such a shame that he did injure himself because he would have been starting on Thursday night. He absolutely would have been starting. It would have given Solanke the rest. And you think to yourself, you've got a fresh Solanke coming in against Ipswich. Great.
I'd still rest him.
I'm still not convinced he'll start.
Solanke.
I don't think he can. I don't know. He has to take him, but I'm not. We'll come to that in a second. Madison pops a lovely little free kick. That was sort of like, I'm just going to stick that over there.
It was one also where as soon as the ref blew, he went. He didn't wait. Sort of, sometimes they wait. It was like ref, right, bang, gone. And
he knew what he was doing.
And when a goalkeeper like Martinez watches it go, it's good.
Madison moved it back a little bit as well because he realised this is actually a little bit too close. I looked at direct free kicks that we've scored. It felt like years. I thought it was Ericsson at Swansea in, I think, 2015. Opta have given, no disrespect to Opta. Kane's free kick against Brentford was a direct free kick.
That wasn't a free kick.
But it was a free. It was a set piece. Kick. No, it's a set piece.
But it's not a direct free kick.
No, because Kulu rolled it to him.
Yeah, exactly.
Son against Watford, but I still think that was a cross. It just went straight in from the wing.
Yeah, that's a cross.
But I can see why they have to give it. So really,
I think they have to give that one.
Yeah, but you can't. They have to give it. But when you think about, he's actually shot directly from the free kick.
Yeah.
Well, we haven't since Ericsson against Swansea.
No. So it wasn't. Ericsson scored one, which I didn't remember, away to Norwich, which I think we drew.
Still couldn't tell you about.
And he scored one at home to Everton in 2019, which I'd forgotten.
But we don't get many of them, do we?
It's been at least 5 years since someone actually stepped up, took a free kick, and it went in the net.
Top bins.
On that Madison substitution, I want to go back to something else that was very clever from Postecoglou, because Udogie came off at the same time.
I was in the loo at that point. Just I don't know why I'm telling you that, but I didn't notice about 5 minutes later. It was my Where's Edinburgh moment from the cup final.
What was clever was Archie Gray came on at left back, and Madison came on for Richarlison. So that was clearly to give Udogie a rest, which sensible move. You need to. You're 3-1 up. That kind of needs to happen. But the concern is they've brought Bailey on at right midfield, who is another speed merchant. You've got Archie Gray playing out of position by about 3 times. He's a central midfielder. He's not even playing right back or centre back. So it's actually his 4th position at left back. Like I was a bit worried for him. But
either that or there's just no position he can't play.
Well, there's that as well. He actually did pretty well when he came on. But what was clever was Ange immediately recognised, because I assumed that you wouldn't mess your team around too much and start moving too many players around. But he actually moved Kulusevski out to the left. And the work that Kulusevski did in those closing stages in helping Archie Gray, and it was right down beneath where I sit, so I was really watching it. He really protected Archie Gray. Doubled up, worked so hard. And it was a good move from Ange, a very good move to protect Archie Gray with Kulusevski and put Madison in the middle.
It's a really good squad. I know friend of the show, Oli Spiro, and he's not alone, will say that it was a poor summer. The squad has been mismanaged. There are obviously still some gaps, but Rome wasn't built in a day. I mean, I don't think you can stockpile players. We've got to move players out before players come in. I like the squad. I like the fact that Basuma's coming on and Kulu can go here, and the squad is so much better than it was.
It's, the players. There are more players that can play in more positions, I think, than we've had in the past. I think you're doing Ollie a disservice. He's somewhere in between friend of the show. He's somewhere above that, isn't he? Friend of the show is for someone that's like, comes on, oh, he's a friend of the show.
Like you.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, Echo of Glory pundit Ollie Spiro.
Pundit, right.
He'll like that.
Regular.
That
makes him sound like he's in a pub.
I think he wanted me to mention.
Usual, please, Peg.
I think he wanted me to mention that his son gave some Villa fans the bird, and his son's like, he was very proud of himself.
Who taught him that then?
I think you're right. Look, Rome wasn't built in a day. We are building a very good squad. There are clearly some deficiencies within the squad that need work, but I don't think you can look at too many Premier League squads and say that is the complete squad. I think even City are missing. If Haaland goes out, then who have they got as a backup 9? They haven't got Alvarez anymore. So yeah, look, I think we're very much on the right path. It makes performances like Palace in the second half against Brighton all the more frustrating. Yeah. But then you look at the number of away wins this season in the Premier League, and it does feel like it's getting harder and harder to win away from home. I was watching City against Bournemouth the other day, and I was on the group saying that this is like watching Tottenham against Palace. City were misplacing passes. There was no intensity, no tempo. It just wasn't what you would expect from a City team, and I don't even think it was to do with...
Interesting you say that, Gaz. So we're, out of the teams in the top 8, from 8th below, from 9th below, no one's won more than one away game. We've only won 1. Brighton have won 2. Obviously, the top 6 have won away games. That's how you get yourself into the top 6. But really, yeah, you're right. Away wins...
They're sparse. They are few and far between. I mean, I'm not excusing the performance against Palace, but I'm just saying...
It's obviously tougher.
Yeah, but I can't put my finger on how a team like City goes to Bournemouth, and they might get beat. I can understand that. But I watched that game. They were poor. They were. It was
I think
literally
Bournemouth are
like
good side at the moment.
Yeah, but I don't. A lot of the misplaced passes were not to do with the pressure that Bournemouth was putting on them. It was a little bit like what I was saying against Spurs Palace. It wasn't to do with Palace pressure. It was just the players just didn't turn up. There's a bit of a weird phenomenon for Villa.
What did Ange say?
What?
7 days is a long time in football.
I like that. I enjoyed that.
You like that. Also, they put on Match of the Day. Did you see I've got it here. Points gained at home from losing positions in 2024. We've gained 24 points. The next highest is City with 14.
You don't like calendar year stats. You like that one.
But
like
I saw it Match of the Day, so I like it.
I was thinking back when I was watching the Ange interview, actually. I reckon a lot of WhatsApp groups, Gary kept himself rightly quiet at half-time. We're having a whinge. Oh, look. I do
enjoy scrolling back.
I have to say I was quite quiet for once.
Was that just on Sunday?
No, but like if you're losing,
it happens every time.
Fans are going to be annoyed. And you know who was really annoyed, I can imagine, at half-time? Ange Postecoglou. So we have every right to be annoyed because I can guarantee you he was annoyed too. And he turned it around. I just want to read you some stats if you don't mind.
We're always annoyed at half-time.
Yeah, it's what we do, mate. I'm going to read you some stats because I can and I will. Since the start of last season, Tottenham have gone on to win 10 Premier League matches in which they conceded the first goal, the joint most of any team along with City. It's a great thing to be able to come back.
The comeback kings.
The comeback kings. Similarly, in that vein, since the start of last season, Tottenham have conceded the opening goal on 13 occasions in home matches. That's annoying, but I said against West Ham, I'm not worried at the moment. If we go 2-0 down, thankfully it hasn't happened yet.
What you're saying is there's no need to be pissed off if we're losing at half-time anymore.
No, maybe.
Who are you speaking to here? Ollie Spiro? Jake Sanders?
Yeah. I thought it was a good a positive one here. I can't find it. Son Heung-min has assisted Brennan Johnson for the 4th time in the Premier League, only providing more assists for Harry Kane and Dele Alli.
There you go.
But Ange will love that because it's winger to winger.
Yeah. One stat you haven't mentioned is that we're now top scorers in the league.
We are top scorers in the league.
Our oh-so-leaky, unpragmatic way of football has got us 11 goals conceded, the same as City and Arsenal, 1 less than Chelsea. But we're so open and leaky, and
I don't feel we're open. I really don't feel we're open. We're just conceding silly goals.
Narratives that this is what I'm saying. I think you get stuck with a narrative and people just fixate on it rather than actually watching what's going on. It's what I was saying from the beginning of the season. There has been changes. We are not as open. We're not conceding as many chances. Our XG generally is low. this is where the frustration for me comes in. You know, we should be much higher up the league than we are. We should have many more points than we are. And yet, when you look at next week's fixtures, as long as we don't do a Tottenham and we go and beat Ipswich, there is a good chance we go into the international break in third place.
I'm not doing
Incredibly.
that thing where we if this, but it could happen.
But it could happen. We could go into it probably won't happen because results would have to go our way. But you look at the fixtures next week, we could end up in third going into the international break.
Well, and I've got another. The other one is this idea that Aston Villa are such an amazing side, and we aspire to be like them. We hammered them yesterday, and they're 2 points ahead of us, and they only finished 2 points ahead of us last season.
Correct.
So
scored 8 goals against them in the last.
It's all about narrative.
It's narrative. I totally agree.
Which goes to the point that I asked our guest about, our Villa fan. Do you get stick for not winning cups? No. Why not? You won a cup last 13 years before we did. It's narratives.
It's totally about narrative, but I do say, and I think this is, I'm not saying other pods don't, but I don't listen to that many others. On this pod, we do like to see the good and the bad, and I think at times it's right to point them out.
Of course.
The bad yesterday was literally 45 minutes. It wasn't even that bad. It was just slow, and we needed to do more.
We didn't get going.
And we did it. We didn't get going.
And we fell into their traps.
Yeah. And that's why you have half time, and that's why managers and coaches.
That's where you earn your money.
But that was hands down our best performance of the season yesterday. It has to. Well,
no,
at least
I don't think so. I think over 90 minutes, United away has to be our best performance of the season.
They had a man sent off. United are a shambles. No, Villa are top side. It's like
Yeah, I'll take your point. I think it was our best. You could say it was our best 45 of the season.
Well, our best 45. Yeah, overall, our best win then.
Yeah.
Can you say that?
Our best win of the season. Yeah.
Right, we've got another one coming up. They come thick and fast, just like these pods at the moment. Shall we talk to a Turkish football expert who wasn't a coach in this country? Should we do that?
Yeah, let's do that.
Let's do that right now. Delighted to be joined by Nadir Sonmez, former assistant coach at Cardiff City and Turkish football expert. Nadir, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
So we've got Galatasaray.
I'm happy to be with you here.
Oh, thank you for joining us. Yeah, we've got Galatasaray coming up in the week. I was looking at their season, absolutely flying in the league, doing okay in the Europa League, a couple of wins and a draw in Latvia. How have you seen their season so far, and do they see themselves as a favourite for the Europa League?
Yes, and first of all, what I want to say, Gala lost the Turkish Super Cup final 5-0 against Beşiktaş at the beginning of the season, and this result had a slightly negative effect on the team balance, and then being eliminated in the Champions League against Young Boys was a very surprise, and also then they had a very difficult period. But the team has now found a balance in the league again and a positive momentum right now. And I believe that this process will be continue in the Europe League, at least in my opinion.
Obviously, they've made quite a number of high-profile, famous signings over the summer and in the last couple of years. We know about Osimhen, we know about Icardi, we know about Mertens. But anyone else that we should be looking out for when we play them on Thursday?
Yes, Icardi and Mertens played an important role last season in the championship, and they contributed 60 of 92 goals. Wow. And Icardi had then some lack of his performance, but after joining from Osimhen, he started to recover generally and to become a good partner with him. And with this transfer, Coach Okan Buruk changed the formation for a double striker and then created a tactical flexibility around the team. And the players are very important for the Galatasaray, for the future, for Europe League. And but this tactical flexibility will have also the positive effect on the team in the league, also in a long tournament, I think. On the other side, Gala has a good team. Expect these 3 players, and Torreira in the center, very strong mentality against the ball, with the ball, and Gala fans think that they have a very good team right now to beat also some strong opponents.
One player you have got that will resonate with Spurs fans is Davinson Sanchez. How's he been getting on?
this is very good question. And Davinson Sanchez, Davinson Sanchez is now one of the best players in the league, also in the team.
Wow.
And they can role very, very critical role also in defensive, also in build-up play in the second area. And sometimes we saw him also in the third area, also in the offensive against Besiktas, for example. And they had some opportunities against Besiktas, and we saw that his performance is increasing. And but I think in his derby performance made a big difference compared to Dombele in the last season.
Yeah, well, I was going to ask you about Ndombele, yeah. He's laughing. Exactly. We have that reaction too, Nadir, to Ndombele. What a great footballer, but no attitude. Wrong attitude.
Yeah. Dombele was also a very good player from the high level, from Tottenham, from Lyon. But he couldn't reach the level compared to Davinson Sanchez. And that he was not physically and also mentally not ready with his body problem in the last season. And I think it was a healthy step for him to return to his home country, to Nice. Maybe he can perform much better than Galatasaray in Istanbul, but it is a very difficult period for the foreign players sometimes when they change the league, change the country, and to have to adapt this culture. But I think he can come back again from France on the top level. But Davinson Sanchez compared to Ndombele, it is a big name, very big name. And he can play also very, very, very important role also against Tottenham.
And I wanted to ask, just moving away from Galatasaray, but another Spurs link is Jose Mourinho, who is causing a lot of headlines and controversy in Turkey, as he does everywhere that he goes. What's the view of him at Fenerbahce and generally in Turkey? And do you see him lasting? Because it sounds like it's going the wrong way.
This is the biggest question right now in Turkish media. We're talking about this question always since Mourinho here is. And so, in my opinion, to my understanding of football, the Mourinho's playing philosophy in recent years is not the same as what Fenerbahce fans expect. This is the reality. And Fenerbahce fans want to see a more dominant football offensively, for example. And that's why Jose has to know the Turkish football and this expectation. And changing the ideas and mentality is also very important. And we saw also some change after Manchester United game, for example. And they showed also very good performance in Istanbul against Manchester United. And also Trabzonspor against Trabzonspor. And yesterday won Fenerbahce 3-2 in Trabzon. It's also a big derby in Turkey, a big name. And after these two games, we can see some change of his mentality, because the expectation, also the pressure from the fans is very enormous, what I can say. And I hope he will be successful in our country, because he is a very good player and very good coach. He worked also with famous players. And because the world recognizes him and follows him, this is also on every press conference from his, and always in the top level. He can speak always the critical points, and that's why I have also a lot of respect from him.
And just before we let you go, Nadir, going back to Thursday's game, obviously we're playing Galatasaray. You may not have seen a lot about Spurs, but for knowing what you know, how do you see Thursday going, and a prediction for the game?
Yes, and I saw some parts from the game from yesterday against Aston Villa.
Mm.
In my opinion, it was an incredible reaction, especially in the second half from Tottenham.
Yeah.
And this game is a game that needs to be analyzed very well for Galatasaray on dominant football and then comeback. And Villa are a wonderful organized team defensively normally, but we saw yesterday some problems that they have in transition games, in the defensive transition game. And so the reactions and organizations after the position loss will be very important for Gala, and they have to analyze this well. And I expect some controlled and calm on the ball, also in defensive from Galatasaray. And otherwise, on other side, Gala can be also dangerous in offensive,
Yeah.
and they can show a crush on positive football. But the win yesterday from Tottenham, it was a big show for every opponent because Aston Villa was on the top level till yet in Champions League, in the league also.
Yeah.
Um, but Gala are also quality. They can finish also their chances. Because of that, it will be funny game, in my opinion.
Can we get a score from you?
Wow. Yeah, the Turkish people is mostly on the side for the Turkish teams.
You can say it. You can say that.
Yeah, I can say maybe 2-2.
I will take that.
Yes,
Yeah, we'll
yes,
take
very
that.
good.
Both teams would stay unbeaten. Listen, we're really looking forward to the game. Nadir, thank you so much for joining us and to tell us a little bit about what's going on over there. Thank you so much.
Cheers, Nadir.
Thank you very much, guys.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Many greetings from Istanbul.
Thank you. Thank you. Live from Istanbul.
Oh God, we're gonna lose, aren't we?
Sorry, I
sound
wanted
good,
to
don't
just
they?
pick up on how the fact. I thought you might like that he was live in Istanbul. You love
I
a bit.
love what I love live on location reporting.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Are we going to lose? Well, we're going to come to prediction in a second. We've talked.
Wait, no, I'm just going by what he said.
Oh yeah.
Let's put the what's the phrase?
The heebie-jeebies.
The heebie-jeebies. Yeah.
It is Halloween. Or was. We've talked about Gala for a few weeks, and we still don't know how they've got Osimhen, Icardi, and Mertens. I'm not sure we're ever going to know.
Yeah,
They are the best team in Turkey by a mile. They are the toughest group. They're one of the toughest teams
We could have got, yeah.
we could have got. They
It's particularly away from home.
They rarely lose at home. Listen, they've not done great in Europe. You watched them against Elfsborg. They conceded 3 at home to Elfsborg. They drew in Latvia, and their other game was a win. Can't remember who against now. They're nowhere near and they lost to young boys in the Champions League who are really poor.
Yeah, but they've turned it around. I mean,
They've turned it around. It's a really, really tough place to go. It's not quite the Ali Semiyen, the old ground where welcome to hell. Was that Chelsea?
No, yeah, it was as every team that went there.
Yeah. It's going to be a really, really tough game, and I would not take anybody. He's got to manage his squad properly now. If he's managing Son 55 minutes at home to Villa in a key league game, for me, we've got 3 wins out of 3.
Yeah,
we don't need to go all out for this game.
No, I think whatever happens in this game, I don't think if it goes wrong, I don't think anybody should read too much in it. We have got a lot of injuries at the moment. I think we are very clearly going to manage the squad for Ipswich, which is a crucial 3 points now. If we can get 3 points out of that, the beginning of the season is okay.
It's more than okay.
It's okay. We're in a decent position. Frustration, but we're in a decent position. Whatever happens on Thursday, I think they will win Galatasaray because I think they will go with their full strength team.
Wow, they didn't play at the weekend, by the way.
And they didn't play on the weekend. They've got every reason to go with their full strength team, and I think they'll win. And it could, I've got a slight concern, it could even get ugly because we are not going to play a strong team, I don't think. I wouldn't read too much into it because whatever happens, I've seen Galatasaray. Okay, I've only seen them once and I've seen highlights here and there. If it got to the point where we were playing them over 2 legs or even in a 1-legged final and we played our full strength team, I can almost assure 100%. You that we will clear them up, right? There won't be a problem. I don't think they're particularly good. They're a decent team, They're not a particularly good team. Thursday could be very tough because we're going to play a very weakened team. There's no doubt about that in my mind.
Yeah.
So I'm just encouraging Spurs fans to not get carried away. And
if we do predict a home win, don't shout at us.
I will predict now a Galatasaray win. I'll be surprised if they don't beat us on Thursday.
Yeah, it makes sense. They're going to go all out. We're going to play a change side. I think Mikey Moore will play. I wonder who's going to play through the middle.
Bergvall will play.
Bergvall will play.
Gray will play.
I don't know if Solanke will play.
You're going to have Dragoshin and Davies as centre backs. One of Davies, one of Udogi and Porro won't play.
Yeah, Davies.
Could play Werner down the middle.
Werner will
Lancashire.
play.
Yeah.
You know,
think Lancashire will play? You'd like to see it in a game like this because
well, you'd like to see Richarlison.
He played against
Ferenc
Ferencváros, didn't he?
yeah.
Like, why not? Like, why not play Lancashire? That's the point. You know, there's no point trying to predict the lineup because we don't know. We don't.
But also,
know.
we don't need to win
Correct.
this game in the Europa League, in terms of
That's
the whole
it.
Europa League.
You need 5 wins really to get through in the top 8, right? We've got 3 of them. We've got Elfsberg at home. That's like basically a gimme.
Yeah.
We should beat Roma at home, I think, and we've got like Hoffenheim away, which again is another game that we should win.
Yeah.
We don't need this.
If we don't get through and we've lost at Galatasaray, not at any point am I going to go, well, we should have played a stronger team at Galatasaray. It'll be the other games that we've blown it where you're going, that shouldn't have happened.
But we've given ourselves such a platform. We've taken the pressure off this game. And that's not us, you know, before anybody goes, you shouldn't duck a game or anything like that. You're just looking at the injuries that we've got at the minute, the minutes that the likes of Solanke have played, the fact that we've got to beat Ipswich.
Sarr and one other were having, it might have been Porro, even in injury time, we're taking on whatever it is they take on.
Yeah.
They're exhausted.
You know, and the reality is, okay, we could go out there and it could get ugly. It could do. Alternatively, you could actually play a weakened team, and if they go and get a point or something like that, fantastic.
Absolutely.
So, you know, give these kids a chance. That's what this competition is there for. That's what we all said that we wanted to see. So go and do it.
Prediction, Jake Robson?
Oh, for Galatasaray. I don't know. I think we might lose 2-0.
I'll say 3-1 Galatasaray.
Actually,
you're so negative,
I think we'll
you
score.
lot.
No, I think we'll score because we tend to always score. 2-1.
God, you're so negative. 1-1. Okay, we're done. We will be back on Friday post Galatasaray, and we are hoping to have former Ipswich captain Matt Holland with us.
Oh, you've trailed him.
I've trailed him.
No,
I said
if he
hoping
doesn't
to.
come on, yeah.
I've said hoping to.
He's a good guy. He'll
Good
come
guy. If he doesn't come on, it's not because he don't like us.
dead to us.
It's because he's doing other things. But hoping to have him on. That'll be a really good interview. I think, as Jake and Ollie called themselves, the B team, which is absolutely true.
The case.
Not true. So I think we'll see you guys next Monday post Ipswich.
Yep.
Gentlemen, thank you for joining us. Looking forward to that draw in Istanbul. And we will see you soon and up the Spurs.